Hi,
Hello,
I'm Julian.
and I'm Tom.
We are Team Binge, and we are here binging the Afterparty.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us. This is episode 5, and this episode is Walt's episode or
I mean, it's the high school
the
episode.
high school episode.
Doesn't even get his name as the title.
Yeah, so thanks for coming back. We appreciate all of you. This episode is sponsored by Friendship.
They does not pay very well.
It does not pay very well. Anyways, we're going to hop into this right away because we don't have any admin stuff. We kick off right where we left off from the last episode, where they can't find Anik, who is stuck in the recording room. And this starts with Danner. She's like talking into the studio, like the mirror, like her reflection.
She kind of has some weird like monologue where she's kind of saying like, man, I know you have your agenda and I've got mine. Anik, where are you? It's like almost like she knows he's in there, but I don't think she does.
Is it called an aside when you're on stage and you like talk to the audience or talk or
I think it's a soliloquy.
Soliloquy? Okay.
Yes.
I was gonna say that and then I was like, nah, that's the type of song. It's the type of song that rappers do.
But when she mentions she has her agenda, do you think it's just she wants to solve the case? Like, there seems to be something.
That was my assumption. My assumption is she needs to solve this. My other assumption is maybe Danner is on some sort of like work probation. Like she's done something before and they're like, hey, gun, badge, the mayor's on my butt. Like, you're off the force. I don't know. I feel like she's done something that she's in the doghouse on, and therefore she needs this case for some reason.
I just feel the way they like presented her having an agenda makes it seem like maybe we'll get a little bit more of her backstory. So maybe we'll find out. Maybe her a little bit more.
If the question is, do I think Danner is the killer? The answer to that is, I do not.
Okay. It's definitely Culp.
Jermaine is landing in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the chief brings up, or the captain, or the police manager, whatever you want to call him.
It's the police manager.
And he's like, promise me you'll be sending your report in 1 hour. And I was like, I don't know, I type a lot. I think a report's probably a lot of typing. She's not typed anything in.
No.
Unless she can just take like pictures of that notepad that says Chelsea's insane. Question or exclamation mark. How's she gonna get a report done in an hour? I have legitimate like stress about this. Like, Danner, you're not gonna hit that timeline.
And it's like, what, still the middle of the night, right? Do they need that report at 4 a.m., 5 a.m.?
Jermaine needs it, so when he gets on scene, he's got all those witness statements.
But so, and she also mentions, like, that somebody's on the lam, and Jennifer, too. Like, what do you think's going on there? Like, where did she go? Is she gonna appear in some, like, is she just napping somewhere as a pregnant lady? Do you think she's involved somehow? Is she behind the two-way mirror in Xavier's room?
I don't know. My assumption was the actress that plays Gen 2
available.
got an offer for like to be a correspondent on The Daily Show or is going to be on Daily Update on SNL.
Okay.
Just like Shay.
Guevara?
No. Michael Shay. Do you
Michael
remember? I don't know if you remember this, but he was on The Daily Show for like half a second. They had him do like 2 episodes, and then he found out he got SNL.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so they did like a goodbye episode for him, and they did like a big thing.
Package.
Yeah, they were
episodes.
like, oh, thanks for joining us for 2 episodes. I'm probably remembering this a little bit wrong, but I know he did a brief stint on Daily Show and then was on SNL.
Nice. I like Michael Che.
Yeah, he's very funny. I don't know where Jennifer 2 is. No one knows where Jennifer 2 is. I did start to get the feeling that maybe Gen 2, just based on some stuff that happens in this episode and you bringing up the texting stuff on phones, that maybe Gen 2 might be a murderer.
Ooh, actual murderer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. But pregnant women can't murder.
Well, she's not pregnant, though. This is the other one. Oh, wait, she is pregnant.
They're both
pregnant. Oh, you're right. Never mind. Pregnant women can't murder people.
We find out at the end, Jasper has the thing about why pregnant people might be able to murder people.
It all comes down to math, folks. Danner's then talking about, I've got to find out about this party. Everything's, she says to the captain, there's a party that happened 15 years ago. And then she goes back to the main room, and much like Clue or any other murder mystery in a single location, everyone's just lounging around. Although they're all being suspects in a murder, they're all just casually hanging out, you know, laying on couches,
What else you gonna do?
I don't know. Be like Ned. Ned's constantly pulling things. I love Ned. Ned's become my favorite character on the show. She asks about the St. Patrick's Day party, and this is when we discover it's Walt's episode.
Yeah.
He, like, knocks over a chair, and he has this really... I mean, the guy that plays it, and his name is...
Jamie Demetrio?
Jamie Demetrio?
I think so, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. That actor, like, he is doing something that is both awkward and just... But it's not, like, over the top, like, normal awkward. There's something about it where I don't know what's going on here. There's so many times he does something I was like, that's awkward, but that's also just really strange, too.
It's just, like, these serial killer tendencies that he's kind of giving off.
Okay,
I
okay.
feel like
Yeah,
it's that vibe.
Yeah.
But this is why I don't think it's him. It's just so heavy-handed about him just being so bad. I also want to bring this up at the top here. Like, the way this show is filming Walt, it's like, you know, he's the butt of every joke. And I feel like they're not, like, making us feel sorry for him at all. Like, he's just always, like, you know, nobody's paying attention to him. Nobody remembers his name. And I feel like it's almost to a point where, like, I feel bad for him. And I feel like a jerk laughing at him too much.
Right. I think the normal, like, arc of this character is he's the butt of all the jokes. No one likes him or no one can remember his name. But then he finds redemption in some way.
Yeah.
No redemption for
never
Walt.
happens.
And there's probably not going to be any redemption for Walt. And part of me finds some joy in that. But I do feel bad for him at the same time.
Yeah.
But also there's certain things that, like, so he knocks over this chair and you hear him, like, under his breath very quickly. He goes, Timber, knock it over, pick it up. It's just a very weird...
That's what they say.
That's what they say. He's like, knock it over, pick it up. And I was like, I can't. And then I tried to think of people in my life that have been so awkward and like you try and help them, but sometimes you just can't, you know? And that's who Walt is to me.
I don't feel like anybody's tried to help him, though. That's maybe the sadness of Walt.
I think it's very difficult to help Walt. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so Walt lets us know that it was his party. And then we discover what his full name is, Tom. And what is his full name?
Walt Butler, which is funny because the butler always did it.
I did not think of that. That's a great point. The butler is always the murderer in these. What I thought was great is just the very quick joke of Inda going, oh, he's the butler. And then Ned going, we're pretty low on ice.
Yeah.
All those were just great. And then we see he's like, I was with you guys on the whole time. And we see him like in all the critical moments.
That was so good.
And then he's in the car.
That was the best. A little montage of him. And he's like, oh, hey, Brett, how's it going?
Yeah. And I was in the car with you.
That was great.
And this is about the time where Anik wanders in, and he's got to pretend like it's not weird that he disappeared for several hours.
Just looking at walls and trying to pretend no big deal.
And I thought this was very funny. Just like the theme is no one knows who Walt is. No one can remember his name. Danner is like chastising Anik, like, where have you been? And she goes, this gentleman was just about to tell us about the party or something. And so clearly she's already forgotten his name, which I thought was a wonderful joke.
There's got to be, if we go back and watch it, I wonder if anybody ever even says the name Walt outside of him. I don't think anybody repeats his name, like, ever.
No,
you never hear another.
I don't think. And maybe we're all going to feel real dumb at the end of this. Like, maybe this is all a clue or something we were supposed to pick up on. But no, I don't think anyone ever says Walt's name. He wanted to throw a party. Walt is like, she's like, oh, here, let's go talk. And he's like, no, I want everyone to hear this.
Yeah, right now.
And so he starts to talk about the party. And this, once again, just in terms of line reading, he's like, I wanted to throw a party that touched your souls. And he's like, get messed ass up on some damn ass booze.
Cuts to Ned. Like,
and Ned goes, what? And... forgive my swearing, but I can't read that line without saying it exactly. Like,
talking about donkeys, it's fine.
Yeah, that's true. Donkeys and the barricading of water. Mm-hmm. And some people are just bad at swearing. Like, have you met people in your life? And they're typically like, I don't know, like 12-year-old kids that just like find the words. And so they're like, oh, I'm going to say them. Or like all of us when we first started swearing. And then there's some people like Roy Kent that swearing is just an art.
It is. It's brilliant.
It is brilliant. Then we cut to the Mind movie. Okay, so if each episode, Tom, is a movie style, or like it's based on something. Mm-hmm. So we've had rom-com, we've had like psychological thriller, we've had the musical dance numbers. Mm-hmm. Where did you categorize this one?
I think this is a just generic high school party movie. So I would equate it to like Can't Hardly Wait, which is probably more in this time frame.
Okay.
Super Bad, and like I don't know, you can probably even go further back to like not Fast Times, but
I would put like the American Pie or
American Pie stories.
Movie,
yeah, a little bit. Not so much party, but yeah, same kind of like.
Isn't there a party in every one of those? Isn't the theme is like, oh, we got to get to the party? Like, I gotta be honest, I don't know that I ever saw American Pie or any of them.
I don't know if there was a big party that they were getting to. There was one at the very end, but I don't know.
There was a pie making competition they were all trying to get
to.
I'm assuming based on the title of the film. Once again, I never saw it.
So surprisingly, they make them in Germany.
They make what in Germany?
It's a pie Germany eating contest. It's American Pie. That's a really poor attempt at humor. You can cut that out.
I was lost, but I found my way back to where we are. Here's what. Do you like these kind of movies?
I mean, when I was like younger, I did. Like Can't Hardly Wait, I think was like right in my wheelhouse when I was younger, and it was just like silly, over the top, like a guy trying to like find his crush. And it's actually, now that I think about it, this episode is very much Can't Hardly Wait, because like the nerdy guy is trying to like confess his love to Jennifer Love Hewitt.
So I've never seen Can't Hardly Wait, and I think I enjoyed this episode, but like what I realized about myself is I hate this genre of movie.
Yeah.
Like I avoid them. I don't find them like humor. I maybe it's just because I can't relate, you know, having been someone who intellectually was too smart to go to high school. I skipped obviously from middle school to Harvard.
I did.
And no, I don't know. Because you're like, I was like, oh, what movies are these like? And I'm like, oh, all the movies I didn't see because I didn't have interest in them.
Well, you saw Superbad.
I saw Superbad.
Yeah.
I would say Superbad is different than these, though.
It's more of like a grown-up version of it, where like it was not like as teeny boppery as the Can't Hardly Wait was.
Yeah, I don't know. And also, like, there's a difference between Freddie Prinze Jr. and Michael Cera. I can't quite put my finger on it, but there is a difference between those two gentlemen.
Correct.
Anyways,
I love how this starts, though, how we get the name stamp pops up high school. It doesn't even pop up Walt's name.
Because all the other episodes have given us the person's name.
Yes.
This one,
it's on Walt's face.
The show cannot remember Walt's name.
It doesn't have time for it. And it pops up high school. And like throughout this entire sequence, I'm sure I'm saying something that everybody has seen, but like he is in the background of every single sequence here, and I feel like Walt like missed his calling. Maybe he should be like an international like spy or espionage because he remembers all of this stuff, and he was never involved in any of the conversations. And it's just so funny to see him acting his heart out in a blurry background because he's like everything's focused on the foreground. It's so great.
Yeah, there are some shows that do background stuff very well, and this did it well, and Walt was great. There's like episodes of like Scrubs or Arrested Development where something's happening in the background, which is funnier than what's happening in the fore. And yeah, I agree with you. We start in high school. We see Dope, Jasper, and Anik arriving. Anik, we find out, got into Stanford, and Jasper got into Berkeley. So both these guys are pretty smart cats.
Yeah.
And Eugene... soon to be Xavier,
correct,
shows up, and he is driving what, Tom?
One sweet, sweet Mazda Miata.
Mazda Miata. What are your thoughts on Mazda Miatas, Tom? And this is not to cast any dispersions on our listeners who drive Mazda Miatas, but
I always thought they were like the silliest of all sports cars.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're like kind of dirt cheap. I think they rebranded them now. They're not even called Miatas anymore. They're like Mazda RX somethings or others. But
that's smart.
Yeah. Not a big fan.
I love them. They're my favorite car. I kind of set you up for that one. He's playing a song, and that song is, I'm going to say it's Riding Dirty, just based on how many times they say Riding Dirty. And I'm going to guess the artist is Nelly.
That's wrong. You want to try again?
I don't.
You don't have any other rappers?
All the other ones I think would have been dead at this time,
Okay.
so I don't know.
It's by Chameleonaire.
Okay, Chameleonaire.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I've heard the name Chameleonaire before because Liz Lemon on 30 Rock makes a Chameleonaire joke. I remember it being funny. I don't remember the joke. The license plate says Xavier.
Xavier number 1.
Xavier number 1?
Yes.
Do you think there's a number 2 then? Or is that in anticipation of there being a second, like, blue Mazda Miata?
No, I think this is just him saying, I am number 1.
Oh, okay. Xavier number 1. We find out Jasper told him that Xavier sounded more alternative. And he explains this to Anik, and he's like, I regretted it almost immediately. And he's like, I also got his new demo. It sounds like hot pop garbage. And I think they did a very funny thing here. And it, like, I know my wife really enjoyed this twist, is in present time, Jasper is, like, not in the music industry. And the assumption is that Xavier cut ties and went big because Scape Diem was garbage.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out that Xavier wanted to go pop. Jasper only believes in ska.
Yeah,
and
pop is a fad, ska forever.
Yeah. So Jasper's the one that broke him up.
Yeah.
I thought that was just an interesting... I did not see that coming. I thought it was great.
No, I liked it, and I think the way that this was like shot, because we got Jasper's movie first, and he was kind of like trying to like keep pushing Xavier to like, hey, you got to do a demo, you got to help me out. Whereas when we go back to high school, it's the exact opposite, where he's like, oh, I told him to go by Xavier, but it's super stupid. Now he's going to get all poppy. So it just kind of flips the script on it, and I thought it was good too.
Yeah. I would relate Jasper to being one of those people that works at an office building of like 15 people who all put into the lotto every week, and then that one person's like, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then the office wins the lotto, and they're the one person left out.
Now he's a bit better.
That's the Jasper. Yeah.
This is why he's our murderer.
Yeah. Oh, you're still on Jasper, huh?
Yeah,
okay.
I've got some thoughts.
We'll
get to them at the end.
Now the audience is all going to leave us because you revealed who you think it is.
I still have multiple thoughts that are
I'm glad
growing.
you have multiple thoughts, Tom. I'm glad you're not a man of singular mind.
I have 3 thoughts.
3 thoughts. Wonderful. I hope we get to at least 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and this is also when Jasper brings up, he's like, oh, by the way, Eugene thinks you stole his spot to Stanford. And I thought this brought up some funny stuff.
Yeah, well, and I also think it kind of like maybe put a little bit of like revenge-ish plot from Xavier's perspective, where like this guy stole my spot to Stanford or something like that, like almost maybe created some kind of grudge between them. No?
Oh, no, I think that's exactly right, because I think Jasper makes some comments to Xavier that he's constantly like, oh, Anik is against me. And so that leads to the events that happen here, which then in turn down the road lead to Anik thinking Xavier's out to get him.
Yeah.
Just because of that history.
Well, and is he? Maybe he is.
Maybe he is. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. Xavier says the car was a gift for getting on the wait list.
Yeah.
My dad says it's really hard for children of alumni to get in these days. They save so many spots for scholarship kids and stuff. And he like looks at Anik. And Anik's like, it must be tough to be a child of privilege, huh, Eugene? Great back and forth right there.
Boy.
I loved it. And I'm so glad. I think I said this after we watched the first episode, but I'm really glad that Dave Franco like is in more of this than just the guy that died in the beginning. Like having to do the flashbacks, but then seeing this episode. Although he does not come off like a very good person in this episode.
No, he's just totally oblivious to this. Doesn't even realize like what he is saying, and that he's just a son of a rich kid.
That and what happens with Chelsea, I would also argue. Xavier, not a good.
Well, I feel like
Xavier,
Eugene is just a rich white kid of privilege that is oblivious to a lot of this. Once he becomes Xavier, then he like kind of puts on that persona.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna argue that they're the same person.
Okay.
But if you think he has like bipolar personalities,
you think Eugene is still alive, but Xavier's dead?
No, I think they're the same person, so I think they're both dead, Tom.
Okay.
I think they're alive in our hearts, but dead, very much dead in like a cold meat locker.
Okay, I've got thoughts on that later.
Okay, oh, wonderful.
I was going to say that at the end of the sequence.
Nothing says, so we haven't gotten to one of your 3 thoughts yet. Nothing says like 2000s teen movie, quite like a Jimmy Eat World drop. And Tom, I will go to my grave. This song is the worst Jimmy Eat World song.
You don't like this jam?
No, I can't stand this song. I want to go on record. I love Jimmy Eat World.
Okay, they're local now. They're Arizona band.
They're from here. I love a lot of their albums from back in the day. I hate that this song is the one that gets played on like sports stuff and commercials and in shows. I just hate it.
It's got a catchy beat, man. I enjoy it.
I don't find it catchy at all.
I respectfully disagree.
In fact, I started a Reddit where all of you that are against the middle, a Jimmy Eat World song, and think it's a average song that for some reason became really popular, join me on my Reddit, and it's r/justice for all other Jimmy Eat World songs, not the middle. Is that how Reddit works?
I don't know. I don't really Reddit that often.
Oh.
I assumed you're going to do another change.org.
No. Oh, and join me. I'm going to do, what's the thing where people send money? I'm going to go a GoFundMe
There you go.
to try and get the middle pulled off of the airwaves.
Okay, good luck.
Okay, I will.
As your partner, I'm not going to be involved in creating this, but as your partner, I get 50%.
Okay, that's fine. I would like to just once again go on record. I love Jimmy Eat World. I can't stand that song. We meet Brett and Ned, who are broing it up in the courtyard.
I feel like this is where we need to talk about like the makeup that's going on with these characters.
How so, Tom? You mean how good it is, and how they aged these people down?
I feel like when they started at Walt, I feel like they just caked makeup on him, and I thought that was actually kind of good, like the little like kind of emo-y hair going over. But once they get to like Brett and Ned here, with just like the big hair that just kind of like flops over, kind of part in the middle kind of deal. Like it was clearly like, all right, these are clearly 40-year-olds that they're pretending are 18.
I was kind of like, it's part of the joke. Like we're just like doing bad wigs, and we're like, oh, this was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess I'm thinking about it. I was like, could I pull off 18? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But
I rock a heavy beard. I feel like if
Also-
I shave my beard, I look like much younger. So
all I know, Tom, is you look very handsome.
thanks, man.
No, I agree with you. I was like, all these people look 40, and it's great. Ned is upset because he broke up with Chelsea, or Chelsea broke up with him. So
yeah.
we did not realize that they were former, I don't know, participants in a relationship. I don't know what
You
the
can
right
say
term
it.
is.
Former lovers.
I don't know if it was love, though, Tom.
Yeah, Ned did seem to get over it pretty quickly.
Yeah, he did.
Or did he?
Jen. Oh, that's true. He may still be holding a grudge. Brett's got his eye on Zoe. I don't know how he has eyes on anyone with those bangs in his eyes, but whatever. Tom, let's talk about aging actors up and down. I have got to say the best aging up I've ever seen in a movie is Matt Damon as the old man in Saving Private Ryan. That's probably
I don't know.
That's probably the best time an actor's ever been aged up.
I think that
Agree or
was a
disagree?
I think that was a different actor.
What?
What? Did I blow your mind right there?
No. You see him age. They did one of those time-lapse cameras.
They do at the very end. Yeah,
They made him stand there for 40
He
years.
was in that graveyard for 40 years.
And then he died. He died, Tom. He died. No, I break this up because, like, it's something that's almost impossible. And what was the Scorsese Netflix
Irishman.
show, The Irishman,
Yeah.
where they tried to make Bob De Niro like 30 years old, and
it
he
was like all like
70.
yeah, it was like praised as being so great, but like it was not good.
Hey, this is everyone join my other Reddit page. Hollywood, stop trying to age people up and down with makeup. It doesn't work.
You have to, and like I feel like the movie that's coming to mind is like Guardians of the Galaxy with Russell. I was gonna say Russell Crowe, Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. Yeah.
I feel like they do a really good job. I think they did in some of the other Marvel movies where it's half makeup and like with bits of CGI. When they try to do it like full on CGI, it just looks so goofy, and it's all in the mouth, like the mouth and the eyes. They
Sure.
can never get right.
Sure. Well, I think we've brought it up on this podcast. We both really enjoyed the series, which is very different than this one. Black Mass? No, what was it called?
Yeah,
Midnight Mass.
Midnight Mass. Yeah.
Midnight Mass. Midnight Mass. When you see the actress that's playing the grandmother, and you're like, that is a young person playing an 80-year-old person, and you can almost it almost telegraphs the plot of the show
100%
because you know
yeah.
that person's going to appear young. Anyways, my Reddit is Hollywood stop aging people up and down with makeup. It doesn't work. Just do what they did to Matt Damon in Saving Private Ryan at change.org.
Okay.
Was that right? All right. Anyways, enough of that. I still really enjoyed this episode, even though I'm frustrated with their Jimmy Eat World choice and their aging up and down choice. Walt gets hit with a football. Brett doesn't know his name. He's like, "Are you okay, man, or dude, or whatever?" And it's so great because they're lab partners.
They are. They do get the chem lab.
In fact, in the beginning of this episode, and we skipped over it because it's Walt in the car alone and no one cares about Walt, he goes, "I wanted to throw this party, so I told my lab partner, Brett." And Brett does not know who
you know what
Walt is.
Now that you say that, I feel like that's why everybody thinks this is Brett's party and Brett's thing.
Uncle.
Because, because Walt told Brett first, and then Brett told everybody else, so then boom.
And they all think it's his uncle who's over in Kosovo for his second tour.
God.
Chelsea, Zoe, and the Jennifers are all hanging out, and I didn't understand this scene. Like, were they friends? Were they not friends? Were they, as the kids call it, frenemies?
Yep,
I didn't understand because they seemed, is caddy the right term? Am I allowed to use caddy if it's not the guy that's carrying my golf clubs when I'm at the Harvard golf course? I was on the Harvard golf team.
It is the Stanford of the East.
Okay.
It is odd. Like, they don't seem to be very close friends. And even, like, later when Zoe and Chelsea kind of hang out at the party, they kind of mention, like,
the Jennifers
they're in their own little world.
Yeah.
And this is where I get that thing of, like, Chelsea even mentions, like, hey, this is not all about you guys because the Jennifers are trying to make it about them. This kind of goes back to why I think all those texts that Chelsea was getting the night of the after party, the main party, is from the Jennifers. Like, they're just being jerks to her.
Oh, so, okay. There was nothing that was said in here that you're saying directly, like, correlated to
I think
text.
it's just more of it,
You're saying it's just the vibe of, hey, we don't want you here, no one wants you around.
And them being catty specifically to Chelsea, yeah.
Okay. Do you think Chelsea has a handicap, or do you think...
I mean, if she has a handicap, it's probably, like, maybe five handicaps. She seems like a good...
Maybe we should tell people, just so no one gets upset from the alumni network at Harvard, that I did not go... to the Harvard of the East. As you pointed out, I went to the Harvard of the West, ASU. Aren't we the Harvard of the West?
Well, sure.
Okay,
that works.
Thanks for backing me up on that one, partner.
I started to do some... I was like, I thought you were equating it to Stanford at first, and I'm like, well, technically we're east of Stanford.
Join me at my other Reddit page. Julian needs a new podcast host partner because Tom won't agree with him that ASU is the Harvard of the West.
We're looking at you, Barrett.
Barrett will listen to this in months. He's not caught up. All right, then we cut to chemistry class, and it's Zoe and Anik flirting. Just, they're having a lot of fun. Why these two kids didn't end up together, I'll never know.
Yep.
Although this episode explains why. They talk about the party, and...
Well, we get a quick cut, too, of them, like, writing on each other, which is, like, I think a call-in to Anik getting written all over, because she takes a permanent marker and starts writing on his goggles. Yeah, so I think it's a little, like, play on that.
Yeah. Anik and Jasper are great. They're, like, celebrating. They're so happy for
like,
each
not
other.
touching hands, like, little dance.
Yeah.
Great.
Ben Schwartz, just from like a, I don't know, physical comedy standpoint, and you can tell because he's the one that does all the improv, like, and I don't know, he's just.
Do you ever watch? This is kind of out of left field. Do you ever watch?
Is it out of left field, like the fact that we're talking about Harvard golf, Tom?
No, that's Harvard baseball team.
You don't have to apologize for anything in any field.
This is why this episode...
We don't get paid for this. Say what you want, man.
This is why this episode is going to be an hour and 45 minutes.
Because we were trying to rush and look at us go.
No, but Ben Schwartz does like a comedy shtick with Thomas Middleditch, where they do like a full-on improv show that's like an hour-long improv from
long form.
Long form, thank you.
That's what my Harvard improv team used to call it, long form.
And it is incredibly fascinating. I would encourage you to watch it. I'm pretty sure it's still on the Netflix. but they've got like 4 episodes that's just a live studio or like a full-on theater, and these guys are just taking a handful of things and make this whole entire improv thing. It's really, really cool.
I remember you pointed me to one of the episodes. I watched it. Yeah, it's great. Those two guys are very funny.
Mm-hmm.
This is around the same time that Anik points out that he's got to make a mix CD for Zoe.
Which is, I mean, very of the times, right?
So
like
of the
making
time.
mix CDs.
I probably still have a CD case with all my mixed CDs. I made them for me because I'm selfish. But it was also a really bad way of like burning out on a song, because you just put all the songs you like on an album.
Mm-hmm.
You'd blow through those, and then you'd be like, all right, I'm pretty sick of all these songs.
Very true.
So I've tried, as I've matured, as I've gone to Harvard Business School and matured, I have done my best to listen to whole albums rather than just cherry picking.
Yeah, good
and
call.
actually, this isn't all true because I have Spotify lists with just songs from artists I like. So this has all been a lie. This episode was brought to you by Friendship and Lying. This is about the time. Go on. This is about the time Brett explodes yeast all over Walt. He's trying to like do a joke to impress Zoe.
Mm-hmm.
And you just felt bad for Walt in this moment, didn't you?
I just covered in it, and like he ends up apologizing to Brett for it. Again, they don't give me anything to like. Well, we'll get to it, but there's like one moment where you think Anik is gonna like have a heart-to-heart with him, and it just gets shot down. It's just, I don't know. It's almost too heavy-handed. Where I want Walt to win a little.
Listen, this would be a moment where I would give, and I know violence isn't always the answer. Half the time it's the answer. I would give Walt the opportunity to punch Brett in the face if he did this. I just feel like it's warranted to at least apply violence in this situation.
Yeah, probably.
Because if you don't stop it at some point, he's just going to be shooting yeast all over your body for the rest of the semester.
Listen, my 3-year-old kid this week, teacher, I come to pick him up. Teacher's like, yeah, he had a bad day. I'm like, what happened? He's like, oh, he kicked a kid in the face. And I was like, what happened? He's like, oh, like the kid pushed him. So like, I mean, you don't know who started it, but I'm kind of like,
your kid finished it. yeah. How's being a prideful dad now, Tom?
Like at one point, I'm
warrior.
like, I can't have my kid like, especially at 3, like be punching a kid, but like. If the other kid instigated it, you want to defend yourself.
It's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope. How good did you feel when you got in the car with your son and you were like, hey, man, you can't do that, but good job.
Yeah, wink.
Good job. Now, there was one time some kid was messing with my younger kid, and my older kid got in the mix and defended, and I was like, yeah. Great. That's good.
Right.
Way to protect your younger sibling.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm with you. It's a slippery slope, and violence is only the answer half the time.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy. That's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
The party starts. The camera work during this. We get like, it's like B-roll of high school, like, parties.
Well, and it's that weird guy that like has the camera and he's like recording it kind of too, and it kind of cuts intersperses with his like camcorder stuff.
Yeah, I didn't like all the dark and then the camera light in people's faces. I didn't need that, but it was certainly of a time.
Uh-huh.
Pizza or stew? That's what you're offered when you arrive at Walt's house. Walt's a great host. I mean, I don't know what he's doing now. Do we know what he does now for a living?
No.
Okay.
We know we'll ever find out.
Well, he should be a host for house parties because giving people the option of stew or pizza, I mean, this cover all your bases. You want something warm and liquidy? You want something warm and doughy? You got them both right there.
And he's telling this to Zoe as she's walking in, and then she's just like, no, thank you, passes by. And then in the background, he's like, oh, I just had a good conversation with Zoe.
Yeah. Like, who he's saying that to? No one knows. Yeah.
To nobody.
His delivery, all the lines from him are so awkward. Zoe asks Jasper where Anik is, and Jasper's got to like buy time, and then he calls Anik, and Anik's still putting together this mix CD. Did you pay attention to the songs on this mix CD?
I didn't, but I do have to mention like Jasper's transition where he's like drinking and then headbutts his drink to then call.
Was such a like high school boy thing, like that weird aggressive. Oh, it was so good. I'm glad you brought that up because I watched it and I was like, I would have done something like that as a high school boy just to be stupid.
No, but tell me what's on Zoe's Tropes A to Z.
Zoe's Tropes A to Z. Here's what's great about Spotify. I typed in Zoe's Tropes A to Z. Someone's made this playlist. So great. I was like, instead of having to like, I paused and tried to like write it down because sometimes he's blocking it with his hand. And then I was like, I'll just look it up on Spotify. It was all there.
So we should probably, I don't know, we're not going to look it up. What does tropes mean? What's the definition of tropes?
Tropes, I think of tropes as like a common thing that's done in like a TV show, but I don't know
because we've talked about like this series is movie tropes, right?
Right.
Like they're literally doing movie tropes, and now that he's calling this playlist that he's burning for her Zoe's Tropes A to Z, it just seems kind of interesting. Yeah, and again, he's calling it A to Z, Anik to Zoe, which I guess we get to with the acronyms here. Hit us up. What's the definition?
The definition of trope is a figurative or metaphorical use of a word or expression.
Okay. So is he trying to do that with like, well, no, he's like an anagram
he's
here.
He's metaphorically expressing himself through song. Does that work?
Write
us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com or visit my 4th Reddit page. I don't remember what we were talking about. Here's the track list for those of you keeping track. Angel by Shaggy.
Yep, we know that one.
Do you remember hearing this song in this TV show?
Yeah, this is how it starts, I think.
It's him rolling up, listening to Zoe's favorite song.
He's getting in the Mind Zone.
Yeah, these guys. Mind Zone. Very good. No Sleep Till Brooklyn by... He just writes Beasties, but we know them as the Beastie Boys.
Correct. We're not that close with them yet.
That's true. Mr. Beastie Boys, we like to call them. I Get Around by Tupac.
Okay, nice.
I'm not familiar with that song. I'm going to be honest, I'm not familiar with most of these songs other than No Sleep Till Brooklyn. And yeah, I mean, Angel because we heard it on this one. Keonda Guerrero by Beck.
Nailed it.
Did I nail it?
That has to be how it's pronounced.
Heart of Glass, Blondie, Everywhere, Fleetwood Mac, One Sweet Day, Mariah Carey and Boys, Two Men, and Ziggy Stardust by David Bowie. Do these songs all are these all love songs? Do these songs have a theme?
No, I feel like the last one too and Ziggy Stardust was just simply we needed a Z.
Oh.
So we're going to choose this one.
Oh, that's right, because it spells
it's an acronym.
Anik, Heart,
yep.
Zoe, but Zoe's backwards. Unless I...
Did you do it wrong?
Did it wrong? No, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I did those in order.
Maybe they're both going to the heart. Anik is going to the heart, and Zoe's going to the heart. Okay. They meet in the middle.
All I know, Tom, is you're wasting my minutes.
Yeah. Yes, for
Which
response.
Is such a great line.
Such a 2006 thing where minutes are not a thing.
I'm running out of text messages, and I'm running out of minutes. Those of you kids that are listening, we used to be limited by how many minutes we could talk on our cell phones and how many texts we could send.
Correct.
You're welcome for modernizing the world so that you have unlimited internet. Tom and I did that for you. Zoe and Chelsea are bonding in the kitchen, and they discuss the Jennifers being catty and unfriendly and not being nice. They start doing shots. Zoe's like, yeah, we're going to go to college. We're going to make the same mistakes, but with different people. I was like, hey, cool. Cheer. Way to live with no regrets. That's the tattoo you get when you believe in those sorts of things.
I do like this, how it cuts to Chelsea sitting on the kitchen counter or whatever, and she's wiping off the icing of the cake, which says Walt Party or something.
Oh, and she removes the name.
Yeah, she removes Walt, which is the first of Walt trying to literally put his name on the party.
It's him trying to get people to remember his name.
Yep.
Which he makes some choices throughout this.
He does.
Brett shows up with that haircut and those bangs, and he's like, you guys are talking about me. Talking about my butt, maybe. I was like, oh, man. That actor plays a high school boy very well. Doesn't look like a high school boy, but plays a high school boy very well.
Was he wearing a leather jacket in this episode?
No. He's in
he hadn't gotten there
I think
yet.
he was in a jersey, maybe.
Okay.
No, the leather jacket... You got to be 35 when you get a leather jacket, and that's when it's cool.
Okay, not cool then. And then I think it cuts to the pool, and this is again where Walt is trying to put his name on the party. He's got like pool floaties that spell out Walt, but it's backwards and spells malt.
Malt.
But I love how he's like pouring extra green into the pool.
Ugh.
And then the cut to Ned, like, what's the pool guy doing here?
Yeah. Once again, no one knows who Walt is. They're all at his house. I got news for Walt. Walt, you can almost do nothing and your pool will turn green.
I can attest.
It happens to me all the time.
As pool owners in Arizona, we can attest.
Don't
take
put
long.
chlorine in it and it will turn green. This episode's been brought to you by Friendship, Lies, and Chlorine. Jasper does a really bad keg stand, and then he does the ska dance, that like leg kick thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is great because he brings it up when he's having his heart-to-heart with Jasper about how pop is not the future for them.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you can't even do a dance in those clothes or something.
Yeah.
And he does the ska dance again. I loved it. I loved every part of it. Xavier's got a new look.
Yeah, he comes in pretty hot with some bleached, I guess bleached tips, but he's got that center part.
Chardonnay.
Yeah, he calls it Chardonnay. Chardonnay all day. The center part, which is a choice. I had the center part when I was, I think, in high school.
Still got a center part.
Not a great choice. The big puffy jacket, again, just screaming like Nick Carter, Backstreet Boys, like these kind of guys.
Okay, yeah. He's like, oh, and this is Jasper's like, I'm going solo, and Xavier's like, you mean just you
By yourself? Yeah.
by yourself? Yeah. Yes, that's what solo means. Xavier. Thinks that it's Anik's fault because Jasper makes a comment about like Anik thinks this or
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and this just adds to the feud between these two. And then I think this is where Anik shows up and Xavier shoves him in the pool.
Yeah, this is, I mean, Anik is the Yoko of ska, I think is what we can call it here.
Of Scape Diem?
Scape Diem, correct.
Oh, not ska as a whole. Anik didn't break
The entire
up.
genre.
Do you think Anik was the reason why Five Iron Frenzy and the OC Supertones broke up? Incredible.
But yeah, I think this is where Anik kind of comes in and he's kind of asks Xavier, like, hey, have you seen Zoe? He's kind of looking around. He kind of does a weird, like, turn around or whatever. And this is where, yeah, he gets shot in the pool.
Eugene shoves him in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Why did his pants come off in the pool?
So he pantsed him. Xavier pantsed him right before he pushed him under the pool.
Oh, I must have missed that because
Yes.
he hops out of the pool and his pants are around his ankle, and I was like, why'd your pants come off in
That's
the
the
pool,
first
man?
thing. So when
And then my
Anik
wife
turns
was
his
like,
back,
stop talking to the television. They won't answer you. I was like, okay.
when Anik first turns his back, he pants him, which I think is reminiscent of what happens at the after party where Anik wakes up with his pants down. So I'm assuming
Oh, this is all Xavier
probably
again.
Xavier pulled his pants down again and wrote I Heart Diarrhea on him.
Yeah, no, you can't pull people's pants down anymore. Not in this day and age. You'll
nope.
get sued. You will get sued. This, once again, just remind me of this genre of, like, high school can be cruel. And, like, a lot of these movies, like, someone's getting messed with and...
Everybody just laughs.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, just punch that person in the face, because violence is the answer half the time, you know? I don't know. Walt gives Anik some dry clothes. And this was a great... He's like, you bring a spare set of clothes to
a party?
to parties? He's like, this is my house. And he's like, it's your house and this is the best you could find? And it's a Bush and Cheney shirt.
It's like,
So
yeah,
good.
it's my little brother. She's got some weird stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize at first it was a tank top.
Yeah, when he eventually comes out to the party wearing it inside out, which is fantastic. He's too ashamed to wear it properly.
And so they start to like share some things with each other. And I think this is what you were bringing up earlier.
Yeah, like the music kind of cuts. He's like trying to blow dry the what is it, like the album art that he created for this little CD.
Okay.
And he kind of says like, yeah, man, you just got to put yourself out there sometimes. And then the second Walt tries to come back and like have an actual conversation. Hair dryer back on.
Hair dryer, yeah.
Ugh, such a bummer, man.
That was good. We see Brett and Zoe bonding on the couch. She thinks it's Brett's party. We find out that Brett, due to what scholarship, Tom, is going to go to Brown. And Brown is a really good school, if I recall.
Are they considered Ivy League?
I think so.
Yeah, but he's got a squash scholarship.
Squash scholarship. Squash is like British version of racquetball, I believe, right?
I looked up squash. I'm like, what is squash? I think I literally searched squash versus racquetball. It says Racquetball is played with a racket, and it's spelled at R-A-Q-U-E-T, where squash is played with a racket, R-A-C-K-E-T. Like, I don't know what.
No, there's more differences than that.
I'm pretty sure there is, but that's what this internet article started with, and I didn't care to go any further.
Okay, I thought a squash ball was different than the blue rubber ball you play with in racquetball.
Yeah, maybe it's just the ball, but I think you still have like a paddle or a racket of some sort that you're hitting it with, and it's against a wall. I don't know.
I love all paddle sports. Canoeing, kayaking. Chelsea and Xavier are in the kitchen. They're like, oh, we want to do something with our lives. They're having that, like, typical, like, existential...
Yeah, they're both having crisis right now.
Right. And the separation of Eugene and Xavier is her equivalent of the breakup with Ned.
Mm-hmm.
They're both going through breakups. And she's like, I found this thing that if you put enough alcohol in your body, it will cure you. And that's just timeless advice. That is just timeless advice.
The Steam Binge, we could say yes.
We can attest. Diet Mountain Dew and booze.
I do like Xavier's like, yeah, we should get hella faded. Like, just
faded.
It's such a weird
oh,
phrasing.
Man. I'm going to bring hella faded back. I'm going to start saying that. They also bring up that... it's Brett's uncle's house, and he's on his second tour in Kosovo, which I thought was funny. And then Anik looks hella faded in that Bush Cheney tank top, right?
Faded or good? He just looks hella good.
Okay, I don't know. I'm just trying to bring it back, man.
You do love some Bush Cheney.
Yeah. The last
Julian question.
Great
Bush Cheney.
president.
Great president or greatest president?
Greatest.
Okay.
Greatest. But yeah, he's
just where he comes in and he's got his shirt on. He's wearing it seemingly inside out in shame.
Oh, really? I thought it was just faded. You think he turned it?
No, it's inside out.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was just hella faded.
He's trying to not. Oh, that was your hella faded reference.
We got there.
Got it.
Brett's gonna have a car at college, and this is cars are great. Let's all agree, cars are great. Zoe's super happy that they're going to be spending their college time together.
Mm-hmm.
And Anik awkwardly leaves because he realizes these two are having a moment, and he doesn't want to be there for it. Xavier and Chelsea, they apparently have drunk so much that they now need to slow down. And very considerately, Eugene's like, I can whip us up a water course, which I thought was a great line.
Great phrasing, for sure. This isn't Eugene. This is Xavier doing this.
Oh, okay. This
Eugene
is Xavier.
is no longer...
I thought Eugene would be the one that would give the water course. I think Xavier would be like, no, let's get hella faded more.
Everybody party!
Yeah. Why are all these people in the hallway, Tom? Why are there so many people in the hallway that they have to pass by?
Well, clearly you haven't been to house parties because that's where everybody waits for the bathroom.
They have a pool. Why would anyone wait for the bathroom when there's a pool in the backyard?
Now, I don't think anybody's swimming in the pool. Are you insinuating people should just stand over the pool and pee into it?
Yes, just pee into the pool. That's what they're there for. They're giant toilets. If you've read any of my Reddit pages, you'll know that pools are just giant toilets. So that's one of my main ones.
That's why your diving board has a big hole cut in it.
Is it Last Man on Earth? Man on Earth where he does that with the pool? Oh, it's so gross. And we find Walt in the bathroom in a robe. This caught me really off guard. I was like, Walt, what are we doing here, man? So he's going for it. He's like, everyone's gonna remember me. They're gonna be like, oh, that Walt's so cool. Remember when he was streaking? I was like, I don't know. It was very strange.
I mean, again, this is where immediately the first thing I thought of was like old school with Will Ferrell going streaking, but he's doing it for different reasons because he's just Frank the Tank and plastered drunk. Walt's just doing this for recognition. But I don't know. Maybe he's well equipped and he wants to share what God gave him. I don't know.
Oh, good point, Tom. Good point. I'm wrong. You know what? Walt's making a perfectly reasonable choice here to run around exposing himself to all these people, especially when there are cops in the neighborhood. Smart. Xavier and Chelsea stumble into the bedroom, and she rejects his kiss. And Xavier's like, oh, well, Eugene wouldn't do this, but I'm Xavier, and I'm a ladies' man.
Yeah, he really goes for it. And, like, she makes that line, like, things are just drunk when you're hard.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of funny.
That was good.
Again, he kind of, I think similar to how, like, Brett does the situation with Chelsea where like, you were leading me on, like you said hi.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's the same situation here where he's like, you said you like my jacket and my hair. Like, dude, it wasn't a promise.
Yeah, it wasn't a promise. Yeah. So then he leaves all upset. And then he's interviewed in the hallway, and he's like, yeah, he starts bragging about them hooking up.
Yeah, because everybody in the hallway sees them going into the bedroom, so
Right.
everybody there's like, ooh, they're assuming. I think even Ned and Gen 1 see that, and Gen 1's like, oh, don't look.
Don't look, Ned. You don't need to see this.
Yeah.
And this is also where Walt appears in the robe, and they're like, oh, they just had a three-way with that weird guy, which I thought was a funny joke, but...
And of course, Xavier just goes with it. He's like, yeah, that's what happened. Like, I had a three-way, I did all this, and like just seemingly trying to be cool, and completely throwing Chelsea under the bus. And I would like to give myself some kudos, because I did feel, like I think I said last pod, that I felt like their encounter was sexual in nature, and
Sure.
It 100% was. Like, he left her stranded by telling this lie.
Yeah, he tells these lies. And it's crazy to me to think, because, like, I didn't even like watching this episode of, like, this portion of the show.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, because this is something that, I don't know. It's like a delicate situation. It's awkward. You feel super bad for her, and he is a dirtbag. And then I started to think, like, there is a whole genre of movies that are like based around these like premises of like lying about sleeping with someone and like bragging about it. And I don't know. I was like, this is why I don't watch these movies.
Yeah, I agree. It's very trashy.
Yes. Anyways, so we then go to Anik blames Xavier for Zoe and Brett talking because they're outside the window watching that happen.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah,
Is Xavier to blame for this, or is Anik to blame? Like, Anik is the one that showed up late for this party. He's trying to like do all this like mixtape and all that kind of stuff, but like he knew that like Zoe wanted to kind of hang out and get together. This was kind of their first official date, if you would. Like, they kind of made a mention of like, hey, we're gonna meet here and we're gonna hang out. Like, is it a little bit on him for not getting there at that party and like allowing, like, getting there so late to the point where Zoe and Brett were kind of hitting it off?
Listen, they try and paint Anik as a victim in this, like with what happens at the end.
Yeah.
Anik makes some terrible choices throughout this episode.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is Xavier's fault at all. But like most of us do, we have to find someone else to blame other than us.
Yeah.
So we're going to pick the most likely candidate, and it's that Chardonnay-haired middle part freak. He starts drinking the blue liquor, and Xavier's like, whoa, those are big bubbles. Make them tiny. Make the bubbles tiny.
His delivery is so great.
It's so good. Xavier continues to brag throughout the party, claims he was naked wearing Brett's uncle's purple heart from Kosovo. Almost patriotic.
Oh boy, it just makes you hate him more and more.
Yeah, I hate him. I feel bad for Chelsea. I wish someone would just punch Xavier in the face.
I feel bad for Brett's uncle.
I feel a patriot.
Yeah.
A patriot.
An actual patriot.
That's stolen valor, my friend, to wear someone's purple heart from Kosovo. Chelsea arrives and everyone's staring. Gen 2 gets after her, like, with a vengeance. But we also find out that there's like a deeper seated thing with Gen 2. Because if you promise someone that when you turn 18, you're going to go apply together at Abercrombie, and they break that promise, I don't know if that's forgivable. Tom, is it forgivable?
I don't know if I can defend that. I mean, it's one thing if you're doing like Banana Republic or Old Navy, but
Right.
Abercrombie, like the Abercrombie?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Let's just think about that for a little while. Anyways, she calls her a hoe bag, which is super unkind. There's a Monica Lewinsky reference here, and I was like, a Monica Lewinsky reference for high school kids in 06. Is that a thing?
Yeah, it was probably kind of dated at that point, but I mean, he was wearing a Bush Cheney shirt, so it's clearly after the Clinton presidency. I guess it's still probably in the zeitgeist.
Really?
Maybe, I don't know.
All right. Well, I thought it came out of left field. And is this where she throws up on her? Yeah, she throws up on her.
Not quite yet, because I think she says like, oh, Ned's gonna be so devastated by this, and like Chelsea's like, oh yeah, Ned looks totally devastated while he's
making out.
Yeah, making out with Gen 1 over there, and then Chelsea, she bombs on her. And I do like Gen 2's response, like, my face and my boobs.
Yeah.
This is so embarrassing for her.
For her. Yeah.
Just a jerk.
Anik's in a series of unfortunate events. Anik's CD winds up in the hands of Zoe, and she thinks Brett made it.
It's like a Rube Goldberg. It's like Chelsea knocks over the trash. Walt picks it up, flips, goes into Brett's hands.
Yep. None of it made sense, but thank you, plot point. And Brett gets up, and he's like, I'll play it for you. And he's like, please don't suck. Please don't suck. And then Angel by Shaggy. I know now the artist is named Shaggy because of this episode. Thank you, episode. Starts to play, and Anik's like, oh, that's Zoe's favorite song. And
yeah, like Anik takes it as like, this is a sign.
This is a sign.
Yeah.
And Anik is clearly intoxicated at this point, right? From drinking all the blue liquor.
I don't know. I wouldn't say. I mean, I guess what we've seen in Anik being like drugged is like pass out, kind of drugged kind of thing in the actual like present or after party.
My assumption was sober Anik would maybe not make the same choices that happen here. And as he's like going into the house, Xavier stops him and he lets him know that, hey, had I not thrown you in the pool, you'd probably be in there making out with Zoe instead of Brett.
This is where I feel like this is Xavier. Like the way he, like Dave Franco is delivering this line, like this is now him full on Xavier.
He's become the monster.
Yes.
He was sweet, our genie boy, and now he's the monster.
The
Xavier,
heir of Jeans Beans.
who deserves to be thrown off a balcony.
Oh, I don't know if anybody deserves to be thrown off a balcony, but
Anik gets upset, finds a baseball bat, and starts beating on that sweet Mazda Miata.
Where'd he get the baseball bat?
I don't know.
Got it from the outside. Maybe they were hitting a pinata earlier. We don't know.
I
feel like Walt would probably put up a pinata.
Walt's got activities. I guarantee there are activities throughout the house. Xavier and Anik get into a very high school fight.
Oh, so good.
When he starts spinning around, he's like, "That's my move," and they're just like windmilling, slapping. Oh, so good. But the best part of this is Brett shouting things in the background. Like,
he's
hit him.
Super jazzed at first, like, fight.
Yeah.
And then just slowly starts to get like, this is sad.
I think he shouts stop sound of musicking when they have their arms out and they're spinning. And Brett yells, hit each other. And Zoe's like, don't say that. And Brett's like, this is hurting everyone. Like, there's no violence here. This is hurting everyone, which I thought was a great line. The cops show up. And they break it up. Everyone starts to run. Classic high school movie. The cops show up and everyone runs.
Joe, there's one character that's not running and is just standing there the whole time.
No, who?
Indigo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can see Indigo in the background just standing there, just watching it all.
Oh, not doing anything? Yeah. Tom, were you ever at a house party where the cops showed up and you had to run?
I wasn't. I've heard of these back in high school, but I did not partake in a lot of these high school parties.
Okay, I was at one. I had to hop a back wall. And then I realized, I'm not drinking. I'm not doing anything wrong. Yeah. I can just walk to my car.
Well, you jumped the back wall and now you're trespassing. You weren't doing anything wrong.
I was like, why am I running? I'm not drinking. I'm perfectly fine. Anyways, so those walls are tall and cactus are tough to get by.
Oh boy.
Are the cops racist, Tom?
Yeah, probably a little bit racist. Because, like, I think they don't arrest Xavier because Xavier's like, oh, yeah, my dad owns Jeans Beans. Like, oh, we go to Jeans Beans all the time.
Guy gives us free coffee.
Yeah, and I do appreciate how Anik's like, my dad works for AT&T. Which, I would say arrest him immediately. AT&T is the worst.
Okay.
But that's just me.
Sure.
Something about me.
Yeah.
But
we know your well-known bias towards phone companies.
Correct. But yeah, like, I mean, the cops like say like, hold on there, Barry Bonds, which is like, yeah, it's kind of a bit on the racist side. I mean, he's got a bat. I thought he looks pretty jacked in that tank top. I don't know. Yeah, I was like, okay, so there's. I felt like I don't feel like the show was like trying to point it out, like that they were racist. I just think it was optics of it, or yeah, it was there.
Anyways, X decides to press charges, which means Anik's gonna lose his scholarship, and we see that Xavier, I like to call him X. I just started doing it, and it feels good. Was waitlisted. So when Anik makes the case, I'm gonna lose my scholarship. Xavier's kind of like, oh, well, that scholarship shall be mine.
And he's like pleading. He's like saying, come on, man, like, don't, like, you realize how devastating this is going to be for me, but he's not having it.
Listen, if someone took a baseball bat to my car and the cop showed up, I would not be like, oh, he's cool, it's fine. I would be like, he went into a rage and beat my car up with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
I would like to press charges because I would like my car paid for. And beating someone's car with a baseball bat is not a reasonable expression of your insides.
Well,
this is a good example of when violence is not the answer.
Okay, I was
this
just going
is
to
the
say.
other 50% of the time, Tom.
I mean, and it is a Miata. I mean, you just don't do that to Miatas.
Great point. A classic American muscle car, the Mazda Miata, should not be beaten with a Louisville Slugger. I agree.
But I think your sentiment earlier in the pod, like saying like the show paints Anik as just being this like, you know, lovable character and all that stuff, but he's got some like violent tendencies and stuff here, and this was an overreaction for sure, and kind of potentially points us back at like is he a murderer? Does he have these tendencies, and could he have snapped at the party?
Listen, now that I've seen him in a tank top, I know he could lift Xavier up over his head like Darth Vader does to the Emperor and just toss him over the balcony.
Even drugged, even cat roofied.
Even cat roofied. And then in exhaustion, he goes and lays down.
It's a big workout.
Oh, man. Walt's naked at the door. I love this exchange. The cop's like, hey, party's over, son. Go back inside. Put some clothes on. Just the way the cop says, like, son. And
yeah.
I thought it was great.
And he's just like, all right, officers, have an incredible night.
Have a great night. Party's over. Then we're back in the present. And no one seems to care about Walt's story.
Like, he's trying to kind of end it by saying, there I was, naked as day one, in front of the popo. And, like, nobody cares. And then it just jumps to Ned, like, wait, Chelsea, you didn't sleep with Xavier that night?
Yeah.
Like, it just immediately craps on
And
him.
then Gen 1 blames Anik, claiming, hey, these are all reasons why Anik is probably the guilty one.
I think is fair from
That
her
is
perspective.
I agree.
Chelsea jumps on her for saying, like, oh, that's somebody somebody would murder, somebody would say. They're trying to place blame on other people.
I agree. Thomas should say this at the top. I am not a police detective, but I'm pretty sure one thing you want to do is separate witnesses. Like,
so they can't get their stories together?
Yeah, and all these people should not be, like, sitting in the living room together. This is a big house. Let's move people around and, like, have them sit silently while we gather statements.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Not as fun of a show. Well, I think that's Culp's job, right? Culp, you can still have people in the same room, and Culp is supposed to be there, like, overseeing this to make sure they're not
I'd put
talking.
everyone in a different room.
Okay.
I'd separate them all.
That's what you haven't gotten to gumshoe level yet.
I haven't gotten to gumshoe level with my gumshoe friends. They start to then blame Gen 1.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, casting blame is the first thing a murderer would do.
This is where you get Jasper, like, he's saying, oh man, it kind of does make sense. It's a pregnant woman. She's like, you kill someone and you birth a new one. The number stays the same.
The number stays the same.
And I do like, once he says that, you get a quick cut to like Ned, and Ned's like, oh, she doesn't do anything these days. Like, almost making it seem like, oh, she doesn't do anything, so she can't be the murderer, which I thought was like a throwaway line from Ned. Like, oh, she doesn't do anything these days.
That's great. That's great. Zoe's like turns on Brett and she's like, you lied about that mixtape. Our whole relationship was a lie. I was like, all right. Let's slow down here. Okay. You were married to this guy for 15 years.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we don't know when they got married.
Okay. You were with this guy
Okay.
for 15 years. And was there no like redeemable moment in those 15 years where you fell in love with this guy? It was like, he made the CD. Oh, if that's a lie, all this other time spent together was like, do you see what I'm saying? Like,
He had a car. I mean, we don't know what point he got the leather jacket.
He made a mixed CD. He had a car. And on those things, this foundation of marriage in which they have a child was built. And I just have a real problem with like that being a...
We know he's not a gentle lover. I mean, I don't know what.
The finish.
I don't know what it is, man. I'm with you.
It's a race to the finish.
I am with you.
I don't know. I thought that was a strange thing to be upset about. He sounds like he was a pretty terrible partner through most of it. And,
yeah, partner in chemistry class, partner in life.
Yeah. Danner asks Anik about his grudge towards Xavier, and Anik's response is to, aha, pull out that note.
Yep.
And I really love this. she takes it from him. She like looks at it. And, he's reading the lyrics. He's like, wait, all this rhymes.
Yes.
And then she takes it from him, and she immediately puts it up to the thing on the wall. She's like, yeah, this is Xavier's handwriting. He made up a bad song, ripped it up, and threw it away.
Yeah. That's
why she's a detective, and Anik is not a detective.
And they haven't done a lot of that with, like, I think in the first episode, they kind of, like, let us know that Danner is a very talented and good detective about, like, the art and the stuff on her hands. And this is another one, like, 'cause she saw on the wall the writing and, like, his writing style, and boom, immediately put it up there.
Right. And we called this, Tom. We
did.
said it was going to be a song.
Yeah, you did. That was all you, man.
Tom, we're partners.
Okay.
So everything I get credit for, you get credit for.
All right.
And everything we do wrong, you did wrong. So she's like, it's a song and a bad one. And then Xavier rolls up and he's like, hey. And he's in Anik's ear. And I love Ben Schwartz. He's like, Xavier wrote diary on your neck. That's why you don't have a sample. He died. He perished. When he says he perished, I was laughing so hard. It was great.
And then, like, what was it? Nick's like, yeah, I know. And like, boom. And then he just separates, like, real quick. I love that super quick cut.
Thanks, buddy. This guy's story, Anik, he points to Walt, still doesn't know his name.
Nope.
This guy's story shows that everyone had a reason. And then Zoe steps in and she's like, you haven't talked to me. Mm-hmm. They're like, you didn't have a grudge against him. I didn't have a grudge until tonight.
Well, she says,
dun.
Like, her grudge started at the beginning of the night. Is that tonight, like the night of the murder, or is that the night back then?
No, I understood this to be the night of the murder.
Because I almost thought potentially
murder.
It might have been like she didn't have a grudge against Xavier, but then like she had the friendship with Anik, and then Xavier got him seemingly kicked out of Stanford. Then Zoe hated Xavier because of it. Maybe, but I don't think that's the case because of all the time that lapse. And
I see what you're saying, and I see what you're doing, but the way I had it, I think she says like tonight, so I assumed she meant the night of the party.
You want to speculate what happened?
Listen, Gen 2, man. Gen 2, I feel like Gen 2's handprints are all over this. Fingerprints, footprints, everything.
What?
I think.
Expand.
What
does that do with Zoe, though?
What does that mean with Zoe?
Well, I'm talking
Zoe's
about
a red herring, Tom. It's not Zoe.
But, well, I guess, okay, so before we get to, like, murder suspects, what do you think...
Yeah, this guy goes saying murder again.
What do you think muck duck suspects? K is the least menacing of all the letters. What do you think is going to be Zoe's reason for, like, why she had a grudge with Xavier at the end of the night? Do you think she learns about the Anik stuff back in high school? Like, what do you think Zoe's grudge is?
I would assume Xavier has done something to someone. Yeah, like Anik. And maybe while they're on the helicopter, he, like, brags about it.
Oh, that's fair. Okay, because I did
and
that
then
time.
She's like, oh, I'm going to throw this guy
but
off the balcony over my head like Darth Vader does the Emperor.
Didn't they have an argument at one point in somebody's Mind movie? Didn't we see them, like, arguing on the balcony? Or were they just kind of talking up there on the balcony? Because they've been alone on the balcony, we've seen.
You know what? I don't remember. I'd have to go back. I feel like they're talking on the balcony, but I don't remember an argument.
Okay.
But I think ultimately it's going to come down to Jermaine. Jermaine's the killer.
Jermaine, the detective coming in.
We haven't met him.
So where are you at? So you said Jennifer 2. I still am very perplexed.
I'm just going to keep naming characters because I have no idea, Tom.
Okay. I feel like Ned, like they gave us a little bit of like Ned potentially being a killer as a dark horse. Like he is now so upset about Eugene that, you know, he's with Gen 1. He wanted to be with Chelsea. Like maybe, I think it's probably not going to do that. I think they're going to go with a killer that was one of the Mind movies. Give us some more detail. But the more I kind of like thought about this, I almost think that the way the show is presenting it is that everybody has a reason or a grudge to take out Xavier, but we haven't really seen it from Xavier's perspective. And maybe the reason he came to this party is because he's the one that has a grudge or has revenge that he's trying to exact. Because I think even the Jennifers mentioned at one point, like, oh, a lot of people seemingly are coming to this reunion because they heard Xavier's going to be here. So I'm wondering if maybe Xavier is going to the reunion to try to maybe like reconnect with like Jasper or like has a revenge plot against Jasper because of like how they broke up and like how they ended that little bit, because like you said, they kind of twisted Jasper's bit and now he was the one breaking up the band. So maybe it's like, I still kind of think it's Jasper that did it, but maybe it wasn't Jasper intentionally murdering him. Maybe like they were having an argument on the balcony. Xavier was the one that was like being the aggressor and ultimately got pushed off the balcony.
Sure. No, I like all that. I got to be honest, I have no idea. The show's done a good job of either hiding it or like we just haven't gotten the evidence yet. I do think that the number one rule of thumb in a self-defense case is you look guilty if you try and hide it and you don't come forward. The first thing you need to do is just be like, hey, I threw him off the balcony out of self-defense. Because when you like cut up the body and put it in trash bags and then throw it into the Galveston Bay and then you're like, oh, I killed him from self-defense, all the stuff afterwards looks a little bit suspicious.
Wait a minute. Is this entail with the body you found?
No.
Different story.
This is Robert Durst, the Robert Durst murders. Yeah.
Wow.
Got
real.
Yeah, sorry. It happens. Murder happens.
It does.
That's what my bumper sticker says. Anyways, I enjoyed this episode. Some takeaways. They're all guilty. We're all guilty. No one's innocent. And the world's a dark, dark place. Oh, and we're sponsored by Friendship, Lying, and what was the third one? Dang it. I can't remember. Anyways.
Chlorine. Chlorine.
So then chlorine, thank you, which is super expensive. Next episode will be Zoe. I'm interested in this. I'm interested to see how it goes. I think at this point the final episode is aired, right?
I think it's airing today or tomorrow. Yeah. So okay. I'm being very cautious of, and if people are joining us, I would do the same. Be cautious with watching the next episode.
Right. I mean, even in my Google News feed, this popped up because Google knows everything, and I had to like shy away from the headline and stuff. Yeah. So. Hey, send us your guesses. You can get us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter at teambinge.
Or the Instagram. We'll kind of post some stuff there. We pop new episodes, but and we got a website. Pop on a website and hang out. It's fun.
Yeah, send it through the website. What we don't want you to do is watch the last episode ahead of us and then spoil it for us because that would be devastating. And I don't know how we'd do. Those of you that went on Apple Podcasts and left us 5-star reviews to even out those 1-star reviews, we appreciate you. Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you. And now that you've shown a willingness to do it, go ahead and create another email account and do it again.
I didn't know where you were going. That was great. Oh, man. Yeah, a burner email account can help with a lot of things.
As many as you want.
Murder, reviews, murder. All right. Well, we will see you next week. I have been Julian.
And I've been Gumshoe Tom. Adios, everybody.
Bye.